Oh, no.
Thank you.
Isn't that nice? Hold the pen.
Oh, he's getting everything.
This is. You don't want to sell our pictures. And don't put us online.
No Facebook.
No, phone.
Good evening. My name is Heather Reed, and I would like to talk to you about modern falconry. Falconry gives being one with Mother Nature a new name. A falconer owns a bird on paper, but in reality, that bird can fly away at any time and not come back. That bird chooses to come back because they know that they have shelter and they have care, and someone's going to take care of them. I will be explaining how modern falconry is changing how we think about falconry, falcons, and the environment. About 15 years ago, I became a falconer. At first it was a hobby, and then it became a passion of mine. Raptors are high on the food chain. And being high on the food chain, they have an impact on our ecosystem. When one thing changes in the ecosystem, it causes small changes that can gradually cause a major problem with the ecosystem. I plan to show what falconry is, what abatement is, and what we've learned from conservation of raptors and our ecosystems. First, what is falconry? Falconry is the use of raptors to catch wild prey. According to the webpage, The Modern Apprentice, falconry was originally a means of hunting roughly 4,000 to 6,000 AD in Mongolia, Egypt, and parts of Asia. Raptors, or birds of prey, it's an interchangeable word, can be broken down into 4 groups. Hawks, falcons, eagles, which do require a special permit, and lastly, owls. Owls are not widely used here in the United States as much as they are overseas, mostly in Europe. In 1940, Congress passed a law called the Bald Eagle Protection Act. That law protects our symbol, the bald eagle. It makes it illegal to own a bald eagle or any of its parts, such as its eggs, nests, feathers, and etc. Now that you know what falconry is, let's look at some of the modern uses. Abatement, or depredation, is flying raptors in an area to deter nuisance birds, such as pigeons, starlings, ravens, things like that. Birds are like most animals. They learn quickly. They learn to ignore the common things that businesses use to dissuade them, such as sounds, spikes, netting, or electrified tracking on barns and other buildings. However, the predator-prey instinct is not something they can ignore. That's part of their DNA. In the report, Bird Strike Mitigation for Aviation by Chris Baritone, airstrikes occur when a bird collides with an aircraft. Usually they cause little to no damage, but they can be devastating, such as the American Airlines Flight 1549 incident, where a flock of geese hit the engines and forced the pilot to land in the Hudson River. There are roughly 10,000 strikes reported annually. However, estimates believe that less than half of the strikes are actually ever reported to the FAA. Vineyards and produce growers have to handle destruction by nuisance birds. Each year, these nuisance birds invade orchards of grapes, olives, and other sweet fruits. They cost not only the growers the loss of the fruits, but cost them the time that it takes to search through all of the produce to see what's damaged and what's not. By flying falcons on a regular basis, as the fruit ripens and right before picking begins, the foraging birds can be kept away by the presence of a predator. Other businesses, such as landfills, golf courses, and resorts, use falconers to remove nuisance birds. The nuisance birds leave bird droppings on buildings and at times on people. The bird droppings and the debris are known to carry up to 60 transmittable diseases, including salmonella. Now that we've discussed ways that falconers provide safety, let's look at saving these incredible birds. Why should we save a species from extinction? As quoted in the pamphlet, Why Save Endangered Species, published by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Congress answered this question in the preamble to the Endangered Species Act of 1973, recognizing that endangered and threatened species of wildlife and plant are aesthetic, ecological, educational, historical, recreational, and of scientific value to the nation and its people. The decline of the bald eagle and peregrine falcon populations in the 1900s brought to light the dangers of using DDT pesticides. According to an EPA report, DDT, A Brief History and Status, DDT is called a pesticide, which means diochloro-diophenyl-triochloroethane. This pesticide hampered the fertility and successful hatching of eggs in not only the bald eagles and peregrine falcons, but other birds. Currently, DDT is listed as a potential human carcinogen and is outlawed. Red-tailed hawks, for instance, have a 70% mortality rate in their first year. In the wild, hawks are at risk of predators, collisions, starvation, among other dangers. Falconers take care of these young hawks. We assist them in learning how to hunt and teaching them other survival skills so when they're released, they can survive on their own. As you can see, conservation of raptors are important to the environment. In closing, I've discussed what falconry is, the types of birds that are used. I've also explained bird abatement is better means of removing these nuisance birds, and I've explained how raptors are important to the ecosystem that we live in. I hope you've learned something new today, as well as what amazing things falconers do to provide safety and preservation to endangered species. I hope you visit one of the local Audubon centers here, as my daughter has, or join your local falconry group yourself. Thank you.
There's only one.